A lot of people have some crazy nostalgia for this game, which is interesting because it certainly didn't get very good reviews when it launched. It's got a 68% on game rankings. Either this is a case where everybody's tiny child brains were right and the critics were wrong, or the critics were right and this game's going to be extremely average. I intend to find out which one of these is the case. Spoilers, the kids were right. This game's awesome. Let's get into it. Jackie Chan Stuntmaster was developed by Radical Entertainment. The same Radical Entertainment that made The Simpsons Hit and Run and Road Rage, Hulk Ultimate Destruction, and then the prototype games. The game, of course, stars Jackie Chan, who sees his grandfather get kidnapped, so he chases the kidnappers, fighting his way through New York City to get him back. Jackie Chan was consulted constantly during the development of the game to make sure the game feels like a Jackie Chan film, and he voice acted himself as the main character with a ton of voice lines and a couple of cutscenes throughout the game too. Jackie did all the motion capture for the game and the cutscenes, which is a bit crazy for the PS1, but it really shows how much love and care went into the attack animations and just the game as a whole. For the attack animations, there's a lot of them. You start the game with everything, so there's no unlockable combos or anything like that. Worth mentioning here, there's also no costumes or concept art or game difficulties or any real reason to replay the game once it's done. There's just making of videos starring Jackie Chan that you unlock by finding all the collectible hidden tokens in each level. As far as the combat goes, you've got 3 and 4 hit combos with any mix of light and heavy attacks you want. Light, light, heavy. Heavy, light, light. Light, heavy, light, whatever. They'll all work, and they'll all do different things. He's also got hold attacks, so like if you hold square, you'll get a different attack than if you hold triangle. If you hold triangle, you'll launch enemies into the air, and you can then chain combos on them to juggle them above you. On top of that, Jackie can dodge roll, which if you execute a heavy or a light attack immediately after a dodge roll, you'll get a wide area attack that's really useful for splitting up large groups of enemies. There's a counter attack as well, which is executed with the L1 button. There seems to only be one animation for the counter, but it's pretty cool, and it sees the enemy being thrown across the room. You can also grab enemies and perform a grab throw, which is super useful for throwing people off of ledges. The game even takes into consideration the direction that Jackie's standing. If you punch or kick somebody standing behind or beside Jackie, you get a slightly different animation than what you would get if they were directly in front of you. The motion capture here is seriously impressive. Alright, enough of that. The story. Jackie basically runs through New York City fighting every single living person that he sees. The game takes him through 5 zones of New York with 3 levels and a boss battle for each. He'll run through the streets of Chinatown, the waterfront, the sewers, rooftops, a large factory, and then a final level in a Shaolin Temple. Most of the people that attack Jackie seem like they're part of the gang that kidnapped his grandfather. Well, most is kind of an exaggeration, but I started to think Jackie was actually a bit of a psychopath as the game went on. You can see here, he breaks into this chef's restaurant.
What's cooking? Yoo-hoo, over here. Get out of my kitchen.
Then he ends up knocking him out cold on the kitchen floor.
What a mess. I should clean this up.
And then implies that he's trash before sweeping him away. This guy doesn't seem to actually have anything to do with his grandfather's kidnapping. He's just there. That's just one example, but the whole game is full of enemies like this. They're kind of funny. Alright, so the game starts in Chinatown. Chinatown sees Jackie fighting in a bunch of building interiors like a bar and a mechanic shop, as well as the streets, before ending up at the aforementioned chef battle. Weapons are littered throughout all 3 stages, including a fish and kitchen items. You're also able to hit people onto burning stovetops. This is a great set of intro levels that shows how the game really is basically a PS1 version of something like Rise to Honor, True Crime, or Sleeping Dogs. For the chef boss battle, you defeat him by using the pots on the counter, spamming the flying sidekick, and avoiding his stomps by jumping when he smashes into the ground. There's health hidden in the fridge too, conveniently. Eventually, you defeat him, and you see the cutscene of Jackie taking out the trash that we already saw. So let's move on to the second world. The second world takes place at the waterfront, which feels like a docking bay type of area. As per usual, you fight wave after wave of enemies who appear out of nowhere to thwart Jackie's plan of saving his grandfather. These levels are full of non-stop platforming that's nail-bitingly difficult. Platforming sections in this entire game are like this. It'll give you needlessly difficult jumps to complete that are on par with the hardest Crash Bandicoot levels. The boss battle for these stages is Barney, the owner of a bar that Jackie randomly breaks into before picking a fight with, and for seemingly no reason. He's defeated by always attacking him from behind. Your main chance to hit him is right after he does a triple 3-hit combo and tires himself out. You just hit him over and over again until he's defeated though.
Ooh, you are ugly.
The next 3 stages take place in the New York City sewer system. Yay, sewer level. Jackie goes down into the sewers for some reason, making his way through large pipes, ladders, and floating planks of wood while he beats up every single homeless person down there that he sees. Eventually, he falls down a pipe and lands in a railway tunnel on top of a train. He then fights homeless people on top of trains, jumping from one train to the next to avoid getting hit by signage and building structures. Once he gets to the train station, he fights every single person in the train station like a psychopath. This is a good point to mention that all 3 levels in each of the theme worlds play really similarly to one another. Using the sewer as an example, in level 1, 2, and 3, you start in the sewers, fight homeless dudes, platform across the environment, and end up on top of a train that ends up leading you to the train station. The boss fight for this level is a mime and a drunk alcoholic clown in a boxing ring. It's a sewer level, what else would it be? The mime is pretty easy to defeat, and you want to do that before you take out the drunk clown. The clown's hard as hell to kill. His attacks can't be countered or blocked with his massive boxing gloves, so you've got to dodge roll around and get any hits in while you can during the brief milliseconds that he leaves himself open up for a hit.
My knees are wobbly. Quit joking around. Hey.
After that, Jackie heads up to the rooftops of the city to fight ninjas. These levels love throwing absurd numbers of enemies at you, so don't feel bad about throwing them all off the roof. The best way to do that is with any of the attacks that push enemies forward. You pretty much got triangle, 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 and grabs. These levels also throw platforming challenges at you, usually with enemies below as a consequence of your failure. This is way better than the one-hit kills of the sewer levels platforming sections. Don't get me wrong though, there are still a ton of platforming sections that instant kill you if you fall off a rooftop. Like these horrible bouncy rain covers that the levels love throwing at you. The rooftops eventually lead Jackie into a bar where he can fight with pool cues and wooden poles, and then in the 3rd stage leads him to a rooftop dance floor where a boss battle with the appropriately named Disco takes place. Disco is a breakdancing, disco-loving breakdancer who starts the stage by dancing with Jackie, but he's unimpressed, so they fight. This boss battle is hard as nails. Most of Disco's attacks are fast breakdance moves that are really hard to avoid. He slaps you, dodge rolls, spin kicks, and does cartwheels. Ignore the helicopter light though, that's just for atmosphere on the dance floor. Once he's down, Jackie hears his grandfather yell his name from the helicopter.
Ooh, I'm still alive. Pancake! A pancake!
Because he's inside of it for some reason. Jackie then jumps off the building rooftop and grabs onto the helicopter, being pulled up into the air, and it takes him to the factory, the last of the 3 levels. The factory really puts all your fighting and platforming skills to the test. The building's filled with constant, absolute nonsense. It'll throw ninjas at you that'll impact your sanity, and in between you've got to deal with the hardest challenges yet. Chimneys that shoot flames out of the tops of them, explosive barrels, conveyor belts that lead you to instant death, platforms that appear and disappear, you name it. It's in all of these levels. Jackie ends up finding a package meant for the hands of Dante, the kidnapper, and ends up meeting up with them. He has Jackie's grandfather tied to a chair and then confesses that he kidnapped the grandfather because
sometimes it's the little things that make me smile.
The boss starts really easy, with Dante being hittable with basic attacks, but eventually he starts dodging hardcore and jumping up on a table and throwing explosives at Jackie. Thankfully, when he's doing this, he's opened up for attacks. The best way to finish him off is to survive until he jumps on the table, and then just hit him when he's throwing the explosives. Once he's down, we get a cutscene where Jackie gets his grandfather back.
You did it, Jackie. Oh, I didn't doubt you for a second.
But, oh god, Dante gets up for another round. It's just a cutscene though, and after a choreographed PS1 Jackie Chan battle, he's kicked into a TV and shocked to death before being crushed by a giant picture of himself. Jackie picks up the package that was meant for Dante, Temple of the Shaolin, which he then puts in the back of a massive truck that for some reason he has, but forgets to close the back of it. The box falls out of the truck, and with that, the game is over. Or so it seems. What actually happens is it unlocks a final level, the Shaolin Temple. Unfortunately, I am an absolute idiot, and I didn't realize that this stage even existed until I had already quit the game. I did actually play this in one sitting. I am single, and it doesn't have an autosave, so I lost my entire save. Checking out the footage on YouTube here though, it plays the exact same as the other levels, and it's just a short fight with some ninjas. No cutscene, no conclusion, no extra story here. You beat it, and that's that. Yeah, you did it. You beat an extremely annoyingly difficult PS1 game. It's not a complaint, but a warning if you decide to play through this. This game is hard. Health is hidden in breakable items as you play, so you want to break every single thing that you possibly can on the off chance that there's health inside of it, since it's the only way to refill that meter. Combat will absolutely destroy your soul if you don't abuse the ledges to knock people off of them. And the game isn't afraid to send wave after wave of enemies at you without any health, so you want to hang back as much as possible and make sure you don't ever get hit. Letting the enemies run through their combos and tire out before you go in for any attack. Platforming's even harder than the combat. The game will constantly make you perform acrobatics across hard to gauge 3D platforming challenges where if you fall or get hit by a swinging object, you instantly die, and deaths suck in this game. The load times are horrible, even in an emulator for some reason, and the checkpoints are hilariously rare. It's unbelievably frustrating when you're having a good run through the game only to have something like that happen. Or oh yeah, okay. There's 15 levels in total, and all of them make you want to rip the hair out of your head. In a good way though, it's a good game. I finished it in about 8 hours with constant deaths, but I'd imagine if you really spent the time and memorized each map, you could run through this in maybe 2 or 3 hours. If you've already played Sleeping Dogs True Crime and Rise to Honor like we said earlier and want to experience an old school take on that sort of gameplay, this is a really fun game to go through in a couple of days. Just be prepared to get really frustrated. I'm still a new channel, and I'm going to keep grinding these videos out as quickly as I possibly can, but if you want to stick around and support, why not click the sub button? It helps me out a lot, and you get more game analysis videos too. Win-win really, but that's all I got for this one. Thanks for watching guys, love ya, peace.